What's up? What is up? It's your boy DC, and this is Out of the Fog, a local matters bop that goes right across the province, talking about everything that's cool and good and happening to make our province a more exciting and rewarding place to be. From Don, my man on the side, queuing me up, we got a wicked old show happening tonight. We have Trudy. She's written the second of two books, historical, fiction, all about Cupids, and a very interesting undertone story that you're not going to want to miss. Very cool. And then Helen Bidgood is coming through, Tours by Helen. I met her at a coffee shop, but I haven't looked back. She is a cultural ambassador, and we're going to learn all about what she's got to say, about the people she meets, and the place we love. This is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back after this break.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
Calling all journalism students, Omni Television is once again awarding scholarships to qualified students pursuing a career in third language journalism.
Canada is a multicultural country, and I know that there are a lot of people like me out there. We need a support to do our job in our native language.
Omni is home to a variety of locally produced current affairs programs and daily national newscasts, broadcast in 6 languages. To learn more about Omni scholarships, visit omnitv.ca/scholarships.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Out of the Fog. Super excited for you to join us this evening while we're hanging out with the best mover shakers, making it all happen. Wordsmiths, we love you. I have one to my left. Trudy, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
You know, I got to tell you, it was funny to see you just turn from the TV prompter right to me. Yeah. This is TV, you know?
Yeah.
Anything happens.
That's right.
So thankful to have you here.
Well, I'm really thankful to be here. It's great.
It's great. I'm holding 2 books.
You are.
The first one, A Roll of the Bones.
Yes, yeah.
And now this new one, Such Miracles and Mischiefs.
That's right. That's the new one that just came out.
Now, for you viewing at home, boom, boom, just get the covers on the go. So when you're out shopping around, you see these, you pick this up, you take it home. These are 2 books of a trilogy.
That's right, first 2.
All about a place in our province that we love.
Yeah, they're at least, particularly the first book, they're all set around the founding of the Cupids colony. I called it the Cupids trilogy, although I'm starting to regret that because the story is kind of moving outward and away, but the first book particularly is really focused on the founding of that first colony that John Guy brought over in 1610. And then the second book, the one that's just out now, Such Miracles and Mischiefs, kind of takes, my characters have some adventures beyond the settlement of Cupids, so it's still called the Cupids trilogy, but that's kind of like Cupids is where it starts, and then it unfolds from there.
So I'll ask you, tell us, the viewers who may not be as familiar with some of our famous places and oldest places at that, as Cupids is. Tell us about Cupids from your lens.
Well, Cupids was the first English settlement, first permanent English settlement in Newfoundland, and that makes it the first permanent English settlement in all of what's now Canada. The French were at Quebec before that, but no English people had settled here. Of course, English people had been coming here for years and years to fish, but they had never attempted planting a colony and staying year-round. And so in 1610, John Guy brought 39 men to build a colony at Cupids, and they built a little settlement, some permanent houses, built a little wall around it because they didn't know anything about the indigenous people and they thought they might be threatened by attack, which did not happen. But they lived there for 2 years, and then John Guy went back to England and came back the following summer with, I think the list that's in the Bristol Chronicles is something like 70 goats, so many heifers, and 16 women. So it lists, you know, goats, cows, and, oh, by the way, a bunch of women. Because, of course, if they wanted to have a permanent colony, they had to have wives for these men. And when I first discovered this fact, I was like, oh, I bet there's an interesting story there. And there is, but part of what's interesting is that there isn't really much of a story because we know almost nothing about these women.
That's very interesting, you know, and in all the history we grow up with and all of the courses and all of the language around the history and how proud we are of it, would you agree there's a lot missing from the books?
Oh, there's so much missing from the books. I mean, first of all, the biggest piece of what's missing is, you know, talking about John Cabot discovering Newfoundland or John Guy's settlers being the first ones here. It's missing the whole history of the indigenous people being here already. And I hope we've come to a place where we can talk about settlement and colonization and realize that it's in that context that people were already living here and already made this their home. And then when we do talk about the settlers coming over, the focus has been very much on the men's experience to the extent that 16 women can just be listed almost like cargo on a ship, and we don't know their names. I thought if I did a little bit of digging when I started into the history of this, that I would find out something about the names of these women or who they were, why they came out. Were they already married to men who were here, or were they coming out with the expectation of getting married? But there's no record of any of that. There is for other colonies like Jamestown in Virginia. We know about the women who were sent out there, or the French women who were sent out to Quebec, but we don't know who these women, these English women were who came out to settle Cupids.
This is so interesting, and I want to dig deeper into this. I'm going to swing back in just a second. I want to learn more about you.
Okay.
Are you a historian? Are you a writer of many types of books? What is your leaning?
I'm definitely not a historian by profession. I have an undergraduate degree in history, which I always tell people is just enough education to recognize what a historian does and know that I'm not one. I've been a teacher for many years, first in high school and then in adult education. I teach English and social studies. Now I'm in an admin position, but that's been my career for many years.
I love that.
But I've always been writing, and my biggest interest in writing is in historical fiction, because I think as a fiction writer, I dig into the work that the real historians have done, and then I get to add that layer of imagination and say, for example, with the Cupid story, okay, we don't know the names of these 16 women, but I can imagine them. I can create who they might have been and give them a story. So yeah, writing historical fiction is my real passion.
I love it. And these two books of the trilogy, again, Such Miracles and Mischiefs, is on the go. Check it out. How many of these types of books, whether about Newfoundland places or beyond, have you enjoyed in terms of creating?
Yeah, I have my last 4 books before this trilogy were all kind of based in Newfoundland history.
Okay, I love it.
They've all been published by Breakwater Books, fabulous local publisher that I just can't say enough good about.
I agree.
And I have written some other books earlier, other historical fiction and even some contemporary stuff. But the Newfoundland historical fiction, I think, is what I love to do the most. And it's interesting because the last 4 that I did they weren't a series or anything. They were all kind of separate standalone books, but they were all kind of delving into more recent history, like, late 19th, early 20th century. So with this one, suddenly I'm going back 400 years into the past and really delving into a different time period and a whole different world. And the amount of research you have to do for something like that, like even to know if somebody's getting up in the morning, what kind of clothes are they putting on? What are they eating for breakfast? All of that is unfamiliar. So.
Wow. I mean, it's a real journey.
It really is, yeah.
Someone who definitely is a seeker of knowledge and a teller of stories. I mean, your work is cut out for you for a book that is 400 years old.
It really is.
Where does one draw from when seeking research around the history of our province, usual and unusual places? Go.
I mean, obviously, you read the history books, you read the documents. It's a lot more interesting sometimes to look at original documents, the letters and journals that people kept at the time. And the other thing is, I really believe in looking for the people who are the experts and have learned this stuff and know it down to their bones. Like when it comes to the Cupid's colony, there's a guy that a lot of people probably know, Bill Gilbert, an archaeologist who has been working out there digging up the original colony for 25 years. And when I started on this project, one of my friends was like, oh, you need to get in touch with Bill Gilbert. I worked on the Cupid's dig when I was in high school, and you should go out there and meet him. And just to talk to someone like that who knows their subject right down to the ground, and people always like to talk about the thing that they're an expert on. And so just to be able to talk to someone like Bill and ply him with a million questions, and that's just one example. Research in the library is great, love the Center for Newfoundland Studies and all that, but it's great talking to people who really know a lot about what you're researching.
I bet, and sounds amazing. I'm going to swing it back.
Okay.
The 16 women.
Yeah.
As a writer who is a woman, I can only imagine that as your journey deepened, that there were emotions around the lack of knowledge that you were able to find around the basic information around these women. Mm-hmm. How did that feel to get deeper and deeper into the creation of the first of now, 2 of 3, and to feel that brick wall or lack of finding information that you would hope would have been available?
I'm kind of used to it by now because I've been writing historical fiction for so long, and I know how much women's stories are marginalized and are left out of the official histories. And so I was disappointed but not shocked when I learned that we didn't know the names of these 16 women. It's such a feature for historians and for historical novelists to realize that there are some people whose stories don't get told. Women's stories for sure. Like I said, we don't get the stories of the indigenous people who are already here.
This is my next point.
Yeah,
yes.
there's so much that's not in the history that we all learned in school, and some of it can't be because it wasn't recorded. Like I mentioned, letters and journals. We have a lot of them from those early years in the Cupid's colony, but of course they are all men's writing. If the women who went out, if they were even literate, they probably didn't have the leisure and the time to sit down and write journals or write letters, or if they did, nobody bothered preserving them. So, there's a lot of untold stories, and that's where I think, with doing the digging in and the research to try to get the facts as right as you can, I think there's some stories that we can only tell through fiction because we have to imagine the things that didn't get recorded and didn't get preserved.
I'm sorry, that is so provocative to me and so sad to me, and yet it's not new information, but in context of meeting someone who is creating amazing stories like you are, that's based on literal digging, of every kind.
Yeah.
We're in our final second here of The Hang. Where can folks get a hold of these incredible books?
You can get them in most bookstores, and you can also get them directly from the publisher, from Breakwater Books. They have a little shop there for people who are in the St. John's area, or you can order online from them. And pretty much anywhere fine books are sold, and if your local bookstore doesn't have it, ask them to order it in.
That sounds good to me. Trudy, will you come back again when the third one comes out?
Absolutely, would love to. That's
2023.
2023, yeah.
We're going to do it.
It's going to be out.
Guys, check out this amazing 2-part of 3. It's all about Cupids. It's all about imagining our history. This is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back after this break.
It all started when I racked up some serious debt. Interest payments were going up, creditors were calling. Janes and Noseworthy came up with a plan. Knowing that the phone was going to stop ringing and that I was not in this alone was a huge relief. Bankruptcy or a consumer proposal or whatever help you get is not the end. It's just the beginning. A chance to start again with knowledge and support and people in your corner. Are you ready? Get out of debt. It's okay.
Learn more about Leah's story at janesnoseworthy.ca.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Out of the Fog, and what a time we're having tonight. Geez, the new people coming through. I can't wait to learn more. And here we have the amazing Helen Bidgood. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to Out of the Fog, Don-E.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure. I wish that I had a shoe cam so that we can just truly acknowledge the fashion happening here. Look, there they are. Look, there they are right there. Kick them up. Okay. Boom. Now, we'll talk about the shoes.
There's a story.
Yeah, well, I'd like to hear it. Let's just get that out of the way, and then we'll jump right into the meat of it all, Go ahead.
Well, the shoes are part of tourism for Newfoundland and Labrador. And these shoes are designed by John Fluvoy. I'll spell that F-L-U-E-V-O-G, John, in case you're shopping in Toronto or other places. He's from LA.
Okay.
And the shoes are made in Portugal, and we have a history of the Portuguese, 500-year history of the Portuguese and the White Fleet, so I'm proud of that. And there was the idea of Zita Kops from the Fogo Inn. And John actually came here, I understand, walked the barrens of the Fogo Island, and these are the colors that he saw, and put them in leather, and here they are, promoting Fogo Island and Newfoundland and Labrador tourism.
Girl, if you got those off of the back shelf of Aldo, I wouldn't have known the difference. But look at the story attached. And from the shoes right up to the head, we're going to jump into what you do for so many people who come here. Tours by Helen. Custom tour times. Tell me everything.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm an ambassador for Newfoundland and Labrador, for promoting Newfoundland and Labrador. I always have been. But now this is a self-appointed position.
There's no online course that you did? No 2-week thing? No?
I think it's probably Newfoundland hospitality.
Yes.
You know, we all got that basic Newfoundland hospitality. So I found myself being at a coffee shop. I overhear someone speaking, and the next thing I have them before my coffee is finished, we're on top of Signal Hill. So I was doing this for years, and obviously I like doing it because I volunteered and I did it for free. And I met lots of interesting people. I met Sonia from the Spanish Navy. That was in 2016, and I meet them at the cafe. They're just looking for free Wi-Fi. And then I meet them, and then I take them on tour. And they were doing training here. There were 7 ships in the harbor that year. So then another time I was at the Basilica Church. Was just driving, and they announced on the radio, hey, at 10 o'clock there's a mass at the Basilica. And do you know what it was for? And I didn't know this until 2017, but the Portuguese Navy ship, they alternate every 2 years, a different ship. They come here every September in our port and have a service in front of the Lady of Fatima, which they gave to our city of St. John's in 1955 at the 100th anniversary of the Basilica, to remember all the fishermen that were lost at sea from the White Fleet. Isn't that beautiful?
Wow.
So I ended up there, and of course then I have to meet everybody. Everyone's in their white suits and they're playing the trumpets. It was quite beautiful. So now I'm the official tour guide. Again, tying in with the shoes from Portugal. So things like that were happening, and I totally enjoyed. I love talking, I love telling stories, and I love meeting people. I like to travel myself, so when I see someone in our city, you know, I want to give them the best of what we have to offer. So I felt then there was a little niche for me, and then I started a small business in 2018.
Did you?
Yeah.
What a precarious time to start a business just before many things went on we will not speak of by name.
Yeah, so then in 2018, I tested the water, you know, for my small business, and I got some phone calls. I was excited if I got one.
Yeah,
so I got one phone call. I was, okay, that's great. So, I'm properly registered and licensed with the Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this is the guidebook. It's called the Traveler's Guide 2021.
Okay.
And anyone in Newfoundland or Labrador, anyone who wanting to come to Newfoundland and Labrador, rather, right, just get this book. Everything is in here. All the attractions, everything, all across Grossmorn, Fogo Island, everything. And this is also on the website, online. You don't have to get the book, but it's also online.
Sure.
So if you wanted to reach me, for example, you open up the website, there's destinations, so you could say Corner Brook, or for me, St. John's.
Yeah, right.
And then you say the plans. So for me, you would say tours, I'm looking for a tour, but you could also put in their boat tour and get boat tours. So everything is here. So
it's quite a piece of work.
yeah, so this year is Come Home Year, 2022.
Don't we know it?
Yeah.
Are you getting much of people reaching out, being like, hey, we're coming here, we're coming? Because I'll tell you what, there are some hospitality-based organizations that I'm related to, and the number of emails and phone calls coming in about this summer, it is beyond. Are you experiencing the same?
Not yet. I have to talk about Joey Smallwood for 1966 when he had the Come Home Year.
Yeah, right, the last time we did that.
Yeah, so the funny thing was that this is why we have all the Holiday Inns across Newfoundland, because Joey built the Holiday Inns for the Newfoundlanders coming home. So of course, the Newfoundlanders didn't stay in the Holiday Inns. They stayed with their parents at their homes. So that's how we got Holiday Inns across Newfoundland and Labrador.
But the Holiday Inn is a national chain, isn't it? It is.
Yes,
right.
it is.
And he decided to bring them all here.
Yeah. So, but I think this year is going to be, I'm wishing everyone great success. I think it's good for us to be promoting that. And if anyone wants to call me, I'm up for a private tour. I think a lot of people might be getting their families to do that.
Well,
but sometimes their families are working or busy.
Of course.
And I'm certainly there to fill that need. And everybody else. So, Don-E, also I found, like, I'm a small business and small private custom tours, but there's a real ripple effect with tourism. Like, we're hearing now that our Newfoundland Labrador tourism is worth $2 billion.
That's the truth.
Yes, so I've found my own experience. Well, first of all, I have to start off with coffee, so that's a coffee shop, right? For myself.
Coffee shop life. I love hanging out. Well, that's where we met.
I think that's where we met, over coffee. And then every town I go to, wherever I'm going to on my tour that day, I book a local restaurant. And then all the tourists want to buy gifts,
of course,
right? Souvenir. So then I bring them to gift shops and direct them to gift shops. And then sometimes before they come, I book them. Some of our restaurants, you need reservations ahead, so I do that. I book them in musicals, I book them in theaters, and I take a lot of people to art galleries. I've sold a lot of art on my own private tours.
Wow.
So that's the ripple effect of not just me having my tour,
right,
but the economy that goes just from that. And again, I'm just one person small.
Of course.
So it's, and then the hotel and the B&B. So it all adds up.
Listen, the hospitality, tourism, cultural component of what makes this place special and unique is just beyond any other industry type you can name. Mm-hmm. And yet sometimes a lot of us in the province are very much focused on natural resource industries or things of that nature. Mm-hmm. What's your advice for decision makers across the province and even nationally when it comes to where the money really comes from as it pertains to culture and tourism? What would you have to say to them?
Well, I'm saying that our economy is bringing in $2 billion, so that's a big pocket
of money.
So I think we've got the advantage of just being a beautiful province, and we don't have a lot of infrastructure or historic sites here. You know, like I've had people here from Italy tour, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to show them? Because I've been to Europe and Spain, and the building, the architecture, like 800-year-old churches and cathedrals. So I'm thinking, like, they might not really like this tour, you know. So then I asked them, you know, what do they want or what do they like?
Of course.
And I always ask everybody what is their passion as well, because that way I direct them again to the sales. If they're into art, I'll bring them to an art. If they're into horses, I'll bring them to see the Newfoundland ponies, right?
Yeah.
So the person answered me that it was actually our nature. It was just the ocean. It was the wide open spaces. Just be able to go on a beach and be the only person there. You know, you can't do that in other places.
I know, it's
and
a
we
luxury.
take that for granted.
We do.
But some of the best moments that I've had on my tours have just been that. People just sitting quietly. I had this gentleman, Joseph from Malta, he was 77. And I brought him to this quiet place. You could just drive up and there's the ocean, right? And he said, Helen, I don't want to go any further on the tour. I don't know where we're going, but I could just sit here for the rest of the day. It reminds me of my youth when I was in Malta, okay? So, and then with my tours, I have the privilege of doing that because I have the luxury of time, because it's my time.
That's right.
So then I can let him sit. I say, yeah, Joseph, we're not in a hurry. My motto is I'm built for comfort, not for speed.
Not with those heels.
And I'm a talker, not a walker.
I love it. I love it.
So, yeah, so Newfoundland's got an awful lot to offer the world. And again, for the, I'm just new again in this industry, but I've had every province. Most of our tourists are coming from Ontario and Quebec.
I know, I hear that a lot.
I think it's about 85%, Don-E.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I have had tours from the other provinces as well, and so far I've had 7 states from the United States, and from Europe I've had Scotland, England, Portugal, Spain, Germany, Italy, Kenya, Malta,
amazing.
Australia. So people are coming here from all over the world.
I'll tell you what, they're lucky to have you, and so are we. Will you come back again sometime?
I'll be back.
Oh, will you? Famous last words.
Yes.
I'll sing you a song, just a line of it anyway,
Okay.
about the Portuguese. And there's a song, maybe you want to research it after, and it's called Saltwater Charlies. I'm not going to sing it to you guys. I'm not going to break the TV on you.
Yeah,
but there's so much Portuguese history. Maybe we'll come back another time and talk more about that.
I love talking about our connection with the Portuguese on my tours.
So cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. I loved it. Thank
love
you
it
so
too.
much.
Well, we'll do it
and
again.
Thank you for Out of the Fog.
Oh my God,
and
yes.
thank you, Don-E, for keeping the community pulse.
I love it. And don't thank me. Thank all the volunteers and the amazing
And all
staff.
your team.
I'm just being told what to do here, you know? Listen, thank you so much. This is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back to wrap the show after the break. She was only a saltwater Charlie. Will I marry Luis with his visions of peace? Hey, guys, sorry, I just got caught up there after hanging out with Helen. Little saltwater Charlie's Portuguese connection. I'm not gonna bore you. Tune in next time. We have wicked guests every time happening on the show, and a whole bunch of wicked people coming together to make it all happen. How lucky are we? Thanks to the Rogers volunteers and the staff. Thanks to Helen Bidgood. Thank you so much to Trudy for coming through and talking about her book. Guys, if you want to be on the show, get in touch. You can come through, grab that red chair, and hang out with your boy. This is Out of the Fog, and we'll see you next time.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us or send us your feedback